6 psychological habits that make women irresistible. Your perception of yourself becomes the world's perception of you. Carl Jung. Have you ever noticed how some women naturally attract respect, admiration, and deep attention without trying to impress anyone? It's not luck, nor is it just beauty. It's psychology. Today, on Spiritual Wisdom, we are uncovering 6 psychological habits that make women truly irresistible from the hidden teachings of Carl Jung. Habits you can start applying today to elevate your confidence, your relationships, and your happiness. Which of these qualities do you see in yourself already? Comment below and let us know where you are on your journey of personal growth. 1. Confidence before beauty. True attraction is rooted not in physical appearance, but in unshakable self-confidence. For a confident woman carries a silent message in her presence. I know my worth. She does not need to announce it, exaggerate it, or seek approval for it. Her posture is grounded, her voice calm and steady, her eyes clear and honest. She stands tall in who she is. When a woman knows her value, people feel it before they even notice her beauty. Confidence is an energy that can't be faked, a frequency that communicates strength, self-respect, and emotional stability. Carl Jung's teachings in spirituality and spiritual awakening reveal that true confidence arises from inner acceptance. The ego no longer begs for validation. The shadow is not rejected, and the authentic self becomes fully expressed. This is not arrogance, but alignment, an internal knowing that you are whole without needing external praise to confirm it. A confident woman speaks with clarity because she does not bargain for attention. She doesn't rush her words or flood conversations with unnecessary details in an attempt to be liked. She knows that silence is not a threat, but a statement of inner peace. Her boundaries are firm yet kind, and she can say no without fear of losing people, because she refuses to sacrifice her respect to earn temporary affection. Her actions consistently reflect self-love. She chooses relationships that honor her worth, opportunities that align with her values, and environments where she can grow without shrinking. In moments of challenge, she returns to her inner truth instead of collapsing under external judgment. For confidence is a daily decision, a spiritual discipline, and a powerful act of self-trust. And because she is deeply rooted in her spiritual identity, she stops comparing herself to others. She understands that confidence is not competition, it is authenticity. She does not dress to impress, she dresses to express. She doesn't live to be chosen. She lives to choose what aligns with her soul. Spiritual wisdom teaches that when a woman radiates confidence, the world responds. People feel safer around her. Men are drawn to her, not because she tries to be irresistible, but because her presence is naturally captivating. She becomes a woman others admire not for perfection, but for her powerful sense of self. Confidence before beauty is what makes a woman unforgettable. It is the confident woman who turns heads without trying, who influences a room without demanding attention, and who is admired long after she leaves. Her magnetism arises from one unwavering belief: I know who I am, and I know what I deserve. 2. Non-clingy. Women control the dynamic. When a woman is not clingy, she automatically controls the dynamic in love, because desire grows when you do not make yourself constantly available, and a man becomes naturally curious about a woman who continues to focus on her purpose, passions, and personal joy, even as he tries to become a part of her world. You show him that you are not seeking validation or permission to feel complete because you already recognize your worth. And that level of independence becomes an irresistible force that pulls him toward you. In spirituality and spiritual development, self-possession is the highest form of attraction because you are not giving your power away. And that is exactly why mature, confident men pursue a woman who allows space rather than suffocating affection. She does not chase because she knows that anything meant for her will move toward her willingly. You become magnetic when your life remains full of friendships, career goals, creative desires, personal rituals, and adventures that continue whether he texts or not, because that tells him you are already whole, not looking for someone to rescue you from loneliness. Carl Jung believed that love becomes unhealthy when it is rooted in dependency, and that real attraction is a dance of two sovereign souls who meet not out of emptiness, but out of overflowing inner energy. So when you are a woman who refuses to shrink her universe just because a man appears, he realizes that you are choosing him, not needing him. And there is nothing more seductive than a woman capable of staying grounded in her truth, with or without his presence. Your independence creates a mystery that cannot be faked, a quiet confidence that makes him wonder what you are thinking, who you are becoming, and what powerful dreams you are pursuing. This mystery does not come from games or manipulation, but from authentic self-respect, from the way you protect your heart and energy, from the way your identity does not dissolve into someone else's life. When you have boundaries and the courage to say no, when something does not align with your values, you are showing the world that you lead yourself first. And any man who earns a place in your life will feel privileged to walk beside a woman so deeply secure in who she is. Men are naturally drawn to challenge, to effort, to pursuit. It is written into their psychology, so the moment you stop clinging and instead allow him to step forward on his own, you awaken his instinct to claim, to cherish, and to protect what he sees as extraordinary. You do not need to beg for attention because your presence itself demands it. You do not need to force connection because your energy speaks before you even open your mouth. And you do not need to ask for loyalty because a man will not risk losing a woman who is rare, a woman who knows how to love but never loses herself in love. So let this live inside you. You are enough as you are. Keep expanding your life. Keep nurturing your passions. Keep deepening your spirituality and your spiritual development so that love becomes an addition, not your entire reason for being. Because when you remain the author of your own story, you become the kind of woman a man hopes to be part of, not the woman who waits for him to write her pages for her. Have you ever practiced being confidently independent in your relationships? If yes, share how it has changed the dynamic for you in the comments so others can learn from your experience. If not, comment, "I choose independence," to begin mastering this irresistible habit today. 3. A unique personal style reflects inner power. A unique personal style reflects inner power because fashion is not about trends, but about the bold expression of your truth, the unspoken signal that tells the world exactly who you are without a single word. When you choose clothing that aligns with your inner self, you are sending a message. I know my worth, and I honor it. This is why Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are," reminding you that powerful women do not dress to impress. They dress to express. Presence becomes greater than physical beauty, because beauty is something the eyes see, but presence is something the soul feels. There are countless beautiful women in this world, yet only a few are unforgettable. And those few are the ones who embody a style that matches their unique energy. Their fashion is confidence stitched into fabric, elegance woven into every detail, and spiritual wisdom radiating through the simplest choices. Style, grooming, and scent are not superficial accessories, but extensions of identity, a form of self-respect made visible. The woman who takes care of herself, who deliberately chooses how she shows up, is silently affirming her power every day. She understands that the world responds to how she carries herself long before it responds to what she says. Even fragrance plays a role in this irresistible presence, a subtle signature that lingers in the memory of others, a soft reminder that she was there, that her energy left a mark. Coco Chanel once said, "Dress shabbily, and they remember the dress. Dress impeccably, and they remember the woman." And this truth continues to shape the psychology of attraction today. A style that fits your inner truth makes you impossible to ignore. When your outer appearance aligns with your inner essence, you become magnetic because people can feel that there is no disconnect between who you are and what you present. You stop competing because authenticity eliminates comparison. You stop chasing validation because your confidence validates itself. Your presence becomes a form of magnetism that others cannot quite explain. They just feel drawn to it. Dressing well becomes an act of energetic self-care, a way of saying to the universe, "I am ready to be seen as the powerful woman I am becoming." You do not need luxury logos or the approval of others. What you need is alignment, choosing colors that reflect your frequency, silhouettes that honor your body, and details that carry meaning only you understand. That is the true art of style, not adding more, but revealing the essence of who you are. Your personal style is your daily declaration of identity. It is your aura made visible. And when you walk into the world aligned with that truth, you do not just wear clothes, you wear confidence, you wear sovereignty, and you wear the unmistakable glow of a woman who has stepped fully into her power. 4. Magnetic feminine energy. Magnetic feminine energy is the quiet but undeniable power that influences without force, a spiritual presence that draws others closer simply through the way she exists. Carl Jung taught that energy shapes relationships more than words ever could, and the woman who embodies her feminine essence understands this truth effortlessly. She does not chase approval or affection, because she knows the moment she chases, she shifts into scarcity and desperation. Instead, she becomes the invitation. She trusts that what is meant for her will approach naturally. This is not passivity, but deep spiritual wisdom, a sign of spiritual awakening, a confidence rooted in knowing her worth without needing to prove anything. In her world, love is not hunted. Love is attracted. Her relaxed presence is what captivates people instantly. She is not hurried. She is not anxious. She is not trying to win attention. She moves through life with grace, as if she is already fulfilled from within. When she speaks, She chooses calm communication. Her tone is soft but certain. Her words are thoughtful instead of loud. People listen to her, not because she demands it, but because her presence alone inspires stillness. In a world full of tension, she becomes peace. In a society addicted to noise, she becomes depth. The more grounded her energy, the more irresistible she becomes. And then, there is her mystery. She does not hand over her entire story at once. She understands that curiosity is one of the strongest forces of attraction. Like a beautiful book that reveals its chapters slowly, she allows others to discover her layer by layer. Her mystery is not manipulation, it is self-respect. She knows that what is rare must be uncovered, not consumed carelessly. Her silence in the right moments speaks louder than oversharing ever could. She reveals only to those who have earned a place in her heart, and that selectivity makes her unforgettable. This kind of woman influences the world not through control, but through alignment. She listens to her intuition, honors her emotions, and lets her energy speak before her words ever do. The more she chooses authenticity over performance, the more magnetic she becomes. She does not bend herself for temporary attention because she knows the love she desires is a reflection of the love she gives to herself. When she trusts who she is, others instinctively trust her too. Magnetic feminine energy is the art of being, not forcing. It is the power of knowing that softness can move mountains. It is choosing presence over pressure, confidence over clinging, grace over chaos. It is a woman who has awakened spiritually and discovered that the truest form of attraction happens when she stops trying to be wanted and instead becomes someone worth wanting. If this message resonates with the powerful feminine energy within you, let it be known. Comment below, "I attract with ease," to affirm your magnetic presence. 5. Mastery of conversation. You already know that some women do not need to raise their voices to be noticed. They communicate through presence and intention, and you can embody this same magnetism by mastering the psychology of conversation. When you speak less but with purpose, every word lands with more weight. You are not silent because you have nothing to say. You are silent because you are choosing what is truly worth saying. With every pause, you create space for curiosity to grow. In those spaces, people lean closer, not because they are waiting for drama, but because your energy tells them there is depth within you that is not easily accessed. Direct eye contact becomes one of your greatest tools. It is not a stare down or a demand for attention, but a calm signal that you are present, grounded, and confidently connected to yourself. A steady tone reinforces this as you speak at a slower rhythm that soothes the nervous system of anyone listening. Your voice becomes a sanctuary, measured, warm, emotionally composed. Even a simple sentence carries a message. I am here, and I am enough. That is spirituality in action, your inner alignment shining through your outer behavior. Curiosity transforms the conversation into a shared experience. When you ask thoughtful questions like, "What inspires you most lately?" or "How did that moment change you?" you show that you see beneath the surface. You are not fishing for facts. You are inviting their inner world to step into the light. Carl Jung reminds us that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Your curiosity is the spark for that reaction, allowing spiritual development to happen through authentic connection. But the secret that truly sets the irresistible woman apart is what she withholds. She does not rush to explain herself, defend herself, or prove herself. She does not overshare to seek approval. She reveals pieces of her story slowly, like a well-written novel, not because she is playing games, but because her wisdom tells her that intimacy is earned, not demanded. What you withhold can indeed be more attractive than what you reveal, because mystery is a form of self-respect. You trust that the right people will stay long enough to discover more. Listening becomes your power. Instead of interrupting or competing to impress, you allow the other person to feel seen and heard. You reflect back what matters most in what they said. It sounds like that moment meant a lot to you. This level of attunement is rare in a world full of distraction and self-promotion. You stand out not by making noise, but by making others feel understood. And in return, they become more eager to understand you. Boundaries preserve your glow. If someone asks something you do not want to share, you respond with grace. I prefer to talk about that another time. You show that your inner world requires trust before access. This not only protects you, it increases your value. When emotions rise, you lower your tone. When others rush, you slow down. When a room feels chaotic, your stillness becomes authority. People remember the woman who is calm when everyone else reacts, the one whose energy guides the conversation, not the one who scrambles to keep up. You become unforgettable not through performance, but through presence. This is the essence of true feminine magnetism. Purpose in your words, warmth in your gaze, curiosity in your questions, mystery in what you keep sacred, and confidence in the silence you allow. When you communicate this way, you are not just talking, you are inviting a connection rooted in respect, depth, and spiritual alignment. That is the psychology of attraction at its highest level, where conversation becomes not just communication, but transformation. Now, I want to hear from you. How do you keep conversations meaningful and magnetic in your life? Share your experience in the comments below. And if you believe that powerful words come from a powerful mind, type "I speak with intention" to show you're embracing this irresistible skill. 6. Independence is the greatest aphrodisiac. Independence is not just attractive, it is a powerful psychological spark that ignites genuine desire. When a woman has her own passions, goals, and sense of purpose, she becomes someone others admire, not someone they pity. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And a woman who embraces this truth radiates an inner confidence that no external validation can replicate. She is not sitting around waiting for love to rescue her. She is already creating a life worth celebrating, and that alone makes her irresistibly magnetic. Her world is full of curiosity, growth, joy, dreams, and self-discovery. She does not make a man her entire source of happiness because she understands that real love is partnership, not dependency. She has a universe of her own, a universe so beautiful that a man does not want to take over it, but to be invited into it. That is why he follows her. That is why he keeps paying attention. A woman living with independence creates a gravitational pull she attracts rather than chases. This level of self-sufficiency is not about rejecting support or pushing people away. It is about knowing that her worth is not determined by who chooses her, but by how she chooses herself every day. Her time is valuable, her focus is meaningful, and her dreams are sacred. She respects herself too much to shrink, so someone else can feel bigger. She grows, she evolves, and she continues learning new things, not to impress others, but because she genuinely loves life. That creates a glow, the kind of glow that can't be faked. Men feel this energy instantly. They admire a woman who has direction, who wakes up with intention, who actively builds her future. Instead of asking, "Who will love me?" she confidently asks, "What kind of life do I want to create?" Spiritual wisdom teaches that when you live with purpose, you become aligned with everything meant for you. As the poet Rumi said, "What you seek is seeking you." A woman who seeks her own expansion will always find people who want to expand with her. And this is why independence is the greatest aphrodisiac, because a woman who does not need anyone is the one who is wanted by everyone. She is not trying to be the center of attention, and yet attention naturally turns toward her. She is not pursuing love, yet love naturally pursues her. Her presence feels like abundance, not emptiness. A man feels honored to stand beside her because he knows she chose him not out of fear, but from strength and desire. At the end of the day, being truly irresistible is not about perfection or fitting into society's standards. It's about confidence, self-respect, emotional intelligence, and a deep connection with your own inner wisdom. These are the qualities Carl Jung believed make someone unforgettable. If these insights spoke to you, don't just watch. Apply them to your daily life and step boldly into the woman you were meant to become. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Share it with someone who needs this message. Subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. Your growth journey continues here. Stay radiant. Stay powerful. Carl Jung's shocking truth: how to stop wasting your life. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung once said, reminding us that so much of what we call destiny is simply the result of living on autopilot. In this video on spiritual wisdom, we will uncover Jung's shocking truth about how to stop wasting your life and start living with intention. Ask yourself honestly, are you living fully or merely existing? As you listen, I'd love to hear your reflections. Share your thoughts in the comments, and let us know how you plan to apply these principles to create a life of growth, purpose, and happiness. 1. The feeling of emptiness is a signal, not a defect. That persistent sense of emptiness you sometimes feel deep inside is not a flaw in your character, nor is it simply anxiety or depression, but rather a profound message from the soul. Carl Jung taught that psychological suffering is not an illness to be silenced, but the psyche's own attempt to heal and self-correct when life strays too far from inner truth. What you mistake for weakness is in fact a signal, the soul's cry for attention, pulling you back toward authenticity and meaning. To ignore it is like shutting off a fire alarm while flames consume the house. Yet to honor it is to step into the very doorway of transformation. So many men spend their years chasing status, money, or validation, hoping that external success will quiet the restless void. They pour themselves into long hours of work, endless distractions, or empty pleasures, believing that achievements will heal the silent ache within. But spiritual wisdom makes it clear that no amount of outer gain can resolve the dissonance when your outer life does not match your inner life. You can own the finest possessions, receive applause from the world, and still wake up each morning with the heavy feeling that something is missing. Because true fulfillment is born only when your actions, values, and essence are aligned. The emptiness exists to remind you that you have abandoned parts of yourself, that you are not living in harmony with your deepest truth. This is where spirituality and spiritual awakening reveal their power. For awakening does not arrive in comfort, but in the friction of pain, the hunger for truth, and the courage to face the shadow you have long denied. The numbness, the restlessness, the haunting sense of being out of place, these are not curses, but invitations. They ask you to slow down, to listen, to ask yourself difficult questions. What is this pain trying to teach me? Which part of my soul have I silenced? What truth am I refusing to live? Jung believed that confronting suffering with awareness transforms it into guidance, because pain carries the hidden key to meaning. The shocking truth is that emptiness is not here to destroy you, but to awaken you. It is the soul knocking on the door of consciousness, urging you to remember who you are and why you are here. When you reframe your suffering as a signal rather than a defect, you begin to see it as the very path back to life itself. By embracing it instead of running from it, you stop wasting your days in quiet despair and start walking toward a life where your inner world and your outer world are finally in harmony. And it is in that harmony that you find not only peace, but also the unshakable strength of living a meaningful life. If you understand that the feeling of emptiness is not a defect, but a signal for change, comment below, "I choose growth," to affirm your commitment to transformation and spiritual wisdom. 2. Medication can mask the deeper problem. Medication may silence your symptoms, but what it often does is distract you from the deeper wound, your disconnection from the authentic self. Modern society convinces you that if you are busy, you are valuable, and if you are in pain, there is always a pill to numb it. Yet beneath the noise and numbness lies a truth you cannot escape. The truth Carl Jung described when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Because in trying to escape discomfort, you may be wasting your life in ways you do not even notice. This is not to dismiss medication, for in many cases it is necessary and life-saving, but rather to challenge the illusion that symptom management equals healing. Because you and I both know a life can look functional on the surface, yet feel hollow underneath. And what makes it hollow is the lack of meaning, the absence of a why, which Viktor Frankl taught us is the very force that allows us to bear any how. When you quiet your suffering without asking what it means, you silence the messenger that came to awaken you. And Jung warned that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. So you must ask yourself, what if the very pain you are trying to escape is the door to your real life? Think of a man who works endless hours, takes medication to sleep, wakes to screens, and calls it living. His body moves, his tasks get done, but his soul feels forgotten, and that forgotten life is the costliest bill you will ever pay. Spiritual wisdom does not call you to abandon help, but to go deeper than help, to uncover the truth that the ache itself is an invitation, urging you to turn inward, to see what parts of yourself you have exiled in the name of survival, approval, or control. The shadow self, those disowned desires, hidden fears, and unlived possibilities, keeps knocking at the edges of your awareness. And when you repress it, it leaks through anxiety, depression, addictions, and restless dissatisfaction. When you begin to listen to it with courage, it becomes your teacher. This is the path of spiritual awakening, not the dramatic fireworks of instant transformation, but the steady daily act of noticing, of daring to tell the truth, of keeping one small promise to yourself that affirms who you really are. It is not about grand gestures, but about realignment, about setting one boundary you have long avoided, speaking one honest sentence to someone you trust, creating one daily ritual that anchors you in presence instead of distraction, and pursuing one passion that breathes life into your days. In practice, this could mean journaling until the surface chatter quiets and the real sentences arrive, walking without headphones just to hear your own thoughts, praying in silence until your heartbeat finds its rhythm with your purpose, or seeking a wise mentor or therapist, not because you are broken, but because you deserve to be witnessed in your becoming. With each step you take, the frantic pull of distraction will begin to ease. The hollow metrics of productivity will lose their hold, and in their place will rise the quiet fulfillment of alignment. Jung reminded us, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that privilege is yours to claim, but only if you stop numbing and start noticing, if you stop running and start listening, if you let your pain reveal the path instead of hiding it. For when you honor your soul in this way, you no longer need endless tricks to feel alive. You awaken to the life already within you, guided by presence, meaning, and the deep assurance that your spirit truly matters. 3. Modern life is structurally soul-crushing. We are raised in a world that measures us by how much we produce rather than how deeply we live. A world that rewards conformity, achievement, and consumption while silencing the whisper of our inner voice. You know this feeling well. Your calendar fills with tasks that look important but leave you empty. Your days pass in a rhythm of meetings and deadlines that demand your presence yet ignore your essence. And little by little, you forget that life is not meant to be a performance. Carl Jung called this mask the persona, and while it helps us function in society, it becomes dangerous when it becomes our entire identity. Beneath it lies the shadow, all the truths and desires you have buried to be accepted, and beyond both is the self, your truest center, the source of meaning that calls you to awaken. Jung's timeless warning still echoes today. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. When you chase careers, images, or money without listening to that inner call, you slowly trade your life for someone else's dream. And the tragedy is that you may succeed at things that never mattered to you. Picture a man in his 40s who has spent 2 decades climbing the corporate ladder, praised by colleagues, envied by neighbors, admired for his steady rise. Yet every Sunday evening, dread coils in his chest, not because of the workload, but because deep down, he knows he is living someone else's story. During a quiet train ride home, he hears a thought surface like a whisper from his soul. This is not my path. For the first time, instead of dismissing it, he writes it down. That single act of honesty becomes a seed. He begins small, declining one unnecessary meeting, carving out an hour for work that feels alive, enrolling in a night class that connects with his deeper gifts. Nothing explodes, yet everything shifts. His body feels lighter, his choices clearer, and for the first time in years, he is not merely productive, he is fulfilled. This is what spirituality in action looks like, not escaping the world, but entering it with integrity, alignment, and the courage to be true. Jung reminded us, who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. And awakening begins with simple, consistent steps toward truth. You too can begin where you are. Start your mornings not with emails or notifications, but with a question. What would integrity do today? Keep a notebook where you write one honest line each night, because truth multiplies when recorded. Protect your energy with boundaries, saying no to roles that drain your soul, and yes to work that feeds your purpose. Surround yourself with people who encourage your growth rather than profit from your confusion, because community shapes character more than any paycheck. Pay attention to your body when your words say yes, but your heart contracts. That is wisdom speaking louder than logic. Let money, image, and status serve as tools, but never masters. Most of all, remember that presence matters more than performance. That life is not waiting for you somewhere in the future, but is asking for your full attention right here. When you honor this, you stop wasting your days on illusions and begin living them as sacred steps of spiritual growth. A journey where your inner voice is no longer silenced, but becomes the compass guiding you toward the person you were always meant to be. If you feel the weight of modern life, but are ready to rise above it, repeat after me. I choose to break free from the soul-crushing patterns of this world. I honor my spirit and awaken my true self today. 4. Anxiety and depression are messages from the soul. Anxiety and depression are not flaws in your character or signs that you are weak. They are urgent messages from the soul telling you that something in your life is out of balance and must change. Burnout, panic, or numbness are not malfunctions to be silenced, but warning lights that your deeper self has been ignored for too long. And as Carl Jung said, neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering, meaning that when we refuse to endure the honest pain of change and truth, we invite an even heavier pain into our lives. These emotions are not random. They are a compass pointing you toward what you have denied, suppressed, or abandoned within yourself. Think of the man who has built a life of success on the outside, yet lies awake at night with a restless mind and an empty heart. His anxiety is not a curse. It is the soul's way of demanding authenticity, urging him to stop pretending and finally listen. The danger is that society teaches men to medicate these feelings, bury them under work, numb them with alcohol or distractions, and pretend that strength means silence. But the more you avoid the truth, the louder the soul cries out. Jung believed that real healing begins when you confront your shadow, those hidden fears, wounds, and unexpressed desires you have pushed away. Anxiety is the shadow knocking on your door, not to destroy you, but to lead you back to yourself. And depression is not the end, but the invitation to go deeper, to shed the false layers and awaken to who you truly are. Spirituality reminds us that every symptom carries meaning, that what feels like a breakdown can become a breakthrough if you have the courage to face it. A man who ignores these inner signals will repeat the same cycles of failed relationships, hollow victories, and unexplained anger. But a man who chooses to listen begins to rebuild his life from the inside out. He learns that suffering is not meaningless. It is purposeful, guiding him to live in alignment with his soul rather than in the prison of society's expectations. When you reframe anxiety and depression as sacred messages instead of enemies, you begin to see that they are the soul's way of pulling you out of wasting your life in avoidance and pushing you toward a spiritual awakening. And in that awakening, you discover that every fear can be transformed into fuel. Every wound can become wisdom, and every shadow you confront becomes the doorway to a more authentic and powerful life. 5. The real cure is the path of individuation. Carl Jung revealed that the real cure for wasting your life is the path of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming your true self rather than the version that society molds for you. Most people spend their days chasing approval, wealth, and recognition, yet in doing so, they lose touch with their inner truth. Individuation is about peeling away those masks and reconnecting with what is authentic within. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is not a luxury, but a necessity, because without it, life feels shallow and empty no matter how much success you accumulate. Individuation demands that you face your unconscious, walk into the hidden corridors of your psyche, where wounds and fears live, and have the courage to bring them into the light. To walk this path, you must confront your shadow, the denied and repressed parts of yourself that you fear or refuse to accept. The shadow is not only darkness, it holds your hidden talents, your unrealized strength, and your untapped creativity. Jung warned that what you fail to make conscious will return to you as fate, meaning that your ignored inner patterns will secretly control your relationships, choices, and future until you face them. Many people live on repeat, sabotaging their happiness because they never confront these unconscious forces. Individuation breaks this cycle, freeing you to make conscious choices and live intentionally rather than blindly. This process also requires embracing the denied aspects of your personality, the anger you bury, the softness you hide, the compassion you withhold. Every suppressed part carries the key to your wholeness, and integration is the only way to feel complete. True healing does not come from pretending to be good or perfect, but from accepting the fullness of who you are, light and dark, strong and fragile, rational and emotional. Jung's spiritual wisdom reminds us that the path to freedom is through honesty with yourself, not conformity to others. Modern life makes this difficult. Endless scrolling, shallow comparisons, and the constant pressure to perform are all ways of running away from your inner call. Yet if you dare to listen, that call leads to a depth of life no distraction can give. Jung's truth remains shocking today because most people are not truly living. They are merely existing trapped in routine, consumed by obligations, and hypnotized by society's narrow definition of success. A wasted life is not one without possessions, but one without self-knowledge. Individuation is the antidote, awakening you to the realization that real happiness and meaning come only from alignment with your inner being. Your fate changes the moment you choose to face yourself, because the destiny of your soul is not fixed. It unfolds through your courage to explore the inner world. The journey of individuation is demanding, but it is also the most liberating path you can take because it grants authenticity, peace, and true spiritual awakening. It is not a single achievement, but a lifelong unfolding of your essence, a daily practice of returning to who you were always meant to be. When you dare to walk this path, you discover that the greatest victory is not found in becoming what others expect, but in living as your most authentic, unapologetic, and conscious self. This is Carl Jung's shocking truth, and it is the spiritual wisdom that can keep you from ever wasting your life. If you're ready to walk the true path of individuation, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your reflections in the comments. Together, we grow in spiritual wisdom. 6. Facing the shadow is the key to wholeness. There is a hidden part of you that you often avoid, the side that holds envy, anger, and shame. And Carl Jung named this the shadow, the forgotten corner of the soul that operates in silence yet directs so much of your life. As he wrote, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people, reminding us that what we bury within will eventually shape the way we see others and the way we live. When ignored, the shadow becomes a puppeteer, pulling strings from the unconscious. But when faced and integrated, it turns into a reservoir of strength, vitality, and authenticity. Consider the story of a young woman named Sarah, who always felt resentment rise whenever her friends shared their achievements. She convinced herself she was simply being humble, yet the bitterness gnawed at her quietly, pushing her toward endless scrolling, comparing, and silently criticizing. One day, after a conversation that left her boiling with frustration, she chose to sit with her discomfort instead of running from it. And she admitted to herself that beneath the resentment was a deep longing to pursue her own dreams that she had been shelving for years. By facing this truth, Sarah uncovered that her anger was not her enemy, but a signal pointing to a neglected part of her, and that her envy was not proof of weakness, but a compass showing her what truly mattered. From that moment, she set aside time to focus on her own creative projects, began asking for help instead of waiting in silence, and discovered that when she brought awareness to her shadow, her relationships became less strained and her energy less divided. Jung reminded us, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And in this lies the power of transformation. When you stop running from your shadow, you begin reclaiming your power to choose. The shadow is not evil. It is simply the exiled potential you have not yet owned. And in it lies the raw material for growth. Envy becomes inspiration to aim higher. Anger becomes the courage to protect your boundaries. And shame becomes the humility that keeps you compassionate. Real spirituality is not about pretending to float above conflict, but about walking into life with eyes wide open, willing to meet every contradiction within you, and from that meeting, turning wounds into wisdom. The next time you feel jealousy, irritation, or insecurity rising, see them as doorways rather than obstacles, because each difficult feeling holds a message. And if you listen deeply, you transform what once sabotaged you into what strengthens you. What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size, wrote Jung, reminding us that resistance fuels the shadow, but conscious awareness liberates it. The lessons are simple, yet profound. Acknowledge what you feel instead of denying it. Ask what value or desire the feeling is pointing toward. Take one small action that honors that value and share the truth with someone you trust, so secrecy cannot feed the shame. By practicing this consistently, you stop being a victim of hidden forces and begin leading your life with clarity and wholeness. This is the essence of spirituality and the heart of spiritual growth. To love every part of yourself enough to bring it into the light, to choose responsibility over avoidance, and to transform your unconscious patterns into the conscious building blocks of a life that feels aligned, powerful, and fully your own. 7. You must reconnect with the unconscious. Carl Jung once said, "What you do not bring to consciousness returns as fate." And in that single truth lies the reason so many men feel restless even when their lives look successful on the outside. The unconscious mind is not just a storehouse of forgotten memories, but also of unresolved traumas and hidden gifts. And when it is ignored, it leaks into your choices, your relationships, and your destiny in ways you may not see until it is too late. You may chase wealth, recognition, or distractions, but if you remain disconnected from your unconscious, you will still feel that quiet emptiness at night when everything else falls silent. Healing begins not with quick affirmations or surface fixes, but with deep introspection through your dreams, through art, through silence, and through the courage to explore what lies beneath your everyday mask. In the modern world, where noise never stops and responsibilities never end, many men push these inner whispers aside, dismissing their dreams as meaningless or their unease as weakness. Yet dreams are the language of the soul. Silence is the doorway to truth, and even the restlessness you feel is a signal that something within you is asking to be heard. Jung's warning is clear. If you do not face the unconscious, it will rule your life without your consent, and you will call it fate. Picture the man who spends decades building a career, earning respect, providing for his family, yet still lies awake at night with a sorrow he cannot name. He tries motivational slogans and positive thinking, but nothing sticks because his deeper wounds remain untouched. When he finally begins journaling his dreams, sketching the images that haunt him, and giving himself time in silence each day, he discovers not only the pain of childhood he buried, but also the creativity and passion he thought had died. By meeting his unconscious, he doesn't lose himself, he finds himself. The unconscious is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally waiting to be acknowledged. Within it are not only the scars you fear, but also the strengths you need to transform your life. To reconnect with it is to stop wasting your life on illusions and start living with clarity and depth. True spirituality is not about escaping reality, but about awakening to it, making peace with your shadows, and uncovering the treasures hidden within them. When you allow silence to speak, when you honor your dreams as messages, when you open yourself to art and inner exploration, you begin to walk a path of authenticity that no amount of external success could ever replace. This is the essence of spiritual awakening, the courage to face yourself fully, and in doing so, to live a life that is no longer ruled by fate, but guided by conscious choice. If this message on reconnecting with the unconscious has inspired you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. Comment below. I choose to reconnect with my unconscious to affirm your journey today. 8. Fear keeps you paralyzed in an inauthentic life. Fear has a way of freezing you into a version of life that does not belong to you. A life that looks stable on the outside, but feels hollow inside. The truth is that most people avoid healing because it means walking through fear, loss, and uncertainty. Yet this avoidance only keeps them anesthetized, trapped on autopilot, and cut off from their own vitality. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain," reminding us that awakening is not a painless process, but a necessary one. The pain of confronting what is hidden is the very doorway to becoming whole, and when you refuse to face that doorway, you remain paralyzed in an inauthentic life where your choices are no longer truly your own. Every time you silence the call to heal, the unconscious begins to live your life for you, shaping relationships, decisions, and even your sense of purpose. As Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The fears you bury today become the chains that quietly guide you tomorrow. Think about the times you felt numb, drifting through routines that offered no meaning. Those seasons where you were physically present but spiritually absent. You will recognize how avoidance drains your essence more than any direct confrontation ever could. Because fear, when unexamined, becomes your master. Yet spiritual wisdom teaches us that fear itself is not the enemy. It is a messenger, a signal that something important within you is asking for attention and protection. When you turn toward that fear with presence rather than running from it, the shadows begin to shrink under the light of your awareness. It is like stepping into a dark room with a lamp, where monsters dissolve into manageable shapes the moment you actually see them. Healing begins in small, practical steps, asking yourself daily what you are afraid to feel, noticing where that fear lives in your body, breathing into that space with honesty, and then naming one truth you have avoided saying aloud. The act of naming begins to loosen the chains of silence. From there, you take one courageous action, a boundary set, a conversation opened, a toxic habit released. Though anxiety may rise, let it be your signal that you are stepping from the known into the necessary. Transformation does not come in a single thunderclap, but in a steady drumbeat of small, brave choices repeated again and again. As Jung observed, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. The energy you spend suppressing fear could be the very energy you reclaim to love more deeply, to create with passion, and to live with authenticity. If you fear that looking into the dark will extinguish your light, remember Rumi's truth. The wound is the place where the light enters you. This is not merely poetic comfort, but a profound manual for awakening. To stop wasting your life is to stop running from yourself, to choose presence over pretense, to choose responsibility over excuses, and to choose devotion over distraction. When you do, you discover that fear is not the wall it once seemed, but the door to freedom you have been circling for years. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Jung's words echo across time to remind you that awakening is not a single moment, but an ongoing practice of aligning your inner truth with your outer life. The most frightening door is the one that leads to your liberation. Yet your hand is already on the handle, waiting only for your courage to turn it. 9. Your pain is a call to awaken. Your pain is not proof that you are weak. It is a signal that your soul is asking you to pay attention, a gentle but persistent reminder that something essential is missing in the way you are living. The emptiness you sometimes feel is not failure. It is the absence of your true self in your own life. And that ache is the invitation to return to who you really are. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That means, if you keep ignoring this quiet call, you will continue to live a script written by others, drifting through roles and routines that do not belong to you. Awakening, therefore, is not about chasing dramatic change, but about choosing every day to step away from the life you have been conditioned to live and moving closer to the truth and inner purpose that already live within you. Think of how often people hide behind busyness, achievements, or distractions, only to realize that none of it feels fulfilling. A woman I once knew, admired at work for her consistency, found herself exhausted every night, scrolling endlessly just to silence the restlessness. One day, she stumbled upon the words, "Awakening means leaving behind the life you've been conditioned to live and choosing to live one aligned with your truth and inner purpose." That single line became her turning point. She didn't quit her job or abandon her responsibilities. Instead, she carved out 10 minutes every morning just for herself, writing what she valued, asking what truly mattered, and gently noticing where she was living for others instead of for her own spirit. Within weeks, she felt a shift. Her focus sharpened. Her evenings became spaces for creativity and connection, and her weekends felt alive again. Pain, once seen as her enemy, had become her teacher. Your story can unfold in the same way. Maybe your pain is pushing you to set a boundary you've been afraid to enforce, to give voice to a passion you've kept buried, or to protect your energy from things that drain you. This is what spirituality looks like in practice, not an escape from reality, but a deeper embrace of it. Jung also reminded us, who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. When you look inside, you begin to see that your pain is simply pointing toward values you have neglected. The key to spiritual growth is to honor those values in small, consistent actions. Start by naming the pattern that causes your suffering, then ask yourself, which part of your truth is being silenced? Commit to one daily choice that honors it, a mindful walk, an hour for your art, a firm no to a demand that isn't yours to carry, or a ritual of prayer, journaling, or meditation that centers you. At the end of each day, reflect on what felt alive and what felt empty, and share your truth with someone you trust, because healing magnifies when mirrored by another soul. Do not complicate the path, because growth is not a performance. It is a steady practice of alignment, and the soul speaks most clearly through these quiet, consistent acts. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not destined to wander without meaning. Life changes the moment you claim ownership of your attention and begin to protect the conditions that allow your spirit to breathe. Let your pain be a doorway instead of a sentence. Remember these truths. Your pain carries wisdom, not shame. Your values are your map. Your daily choices are the engine of change. Reflection is your compass, and connection with others is your anchor. Hold close the reminder that emptiness is not weakness. It is simply the soul waiting to return, and that awakening means leaving behind the conditioning of the world to live aligned with your deepest truth and your inner purpose. 10. Real transformation is painful, but worth it. Real transformation is never a smooth or easy path, because it asks you to let go of the masks, the comforts, and the shallow habits that once made you feel safe. Yet those very sacrifices open the doorway to true freedom, authenticity, and peace. As Carl Jung reminds us, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and that privilege is not handed out cheaply. It demands courage, honesty, and the willingness to face discomfort head-on. The journey is filled with resistance at first, sleepless nights, the sting of giving up distractions, the awkwardness of saying no where you once said yes, the loneliness of stepping away from shallow approval. But this struggle is not punishment. It is preparation, shaping you into a man who can stand in his own truth without crumbling under pressure. When you decide to embrace spirituality and step into spiritual awakening, you begin to notice how much of your energy was wasted on things that never mattered. Every moment you spent comparing yourself to others, every hour you numbed your feelings with scrolling or drinking, every day you postponed the hard conversation. These were fragments of your life slipping away. Transformation calls you to reclaim them. It may begin with something as simple as sitting quietly for 10 minutes each morning, writing down the truths you can no longer ignore, or admitting to someone close to you that you've been hiding behind anger or fear. These small acts of honesty, repeated over time, build a bridge between the man you pretend to be and the man you truly are. And though each step costs you comfort, convenience, and even the approval of those who like the old version of you, the reward is far greater. Dignity, clarity, and a deep sense of inner freedom that no one can take away. This is not a theoretical promise, but a lived reality. Many men in midlife find themselves with the title, the house, and the routine, yet with an emptiness they cannot name. Only when life delivers a jolt, a health scare, a broken relationship, or a crisis of meaning do they realize the cost of delay. But you do not have to wait for catastrophe to wake up. You can choose today to practice courage in small, steady ways, to face the shadow you've avoided, to release the soft addictions that dull your spirit, to protect your energy like a precious resource. Each choice rewires your life toward purpose. Each sacrifice carves space for peace. And each honest act calls you deeper into the man you were meant to become. The truth is simple, but demanding. The painful road of transformation is the only one that leads to lasting freedom. And the more you walk it, the more you discover that the pain was never wasted. It was the price of becoming real. So as we've explored in today's video, Carl Jung reminds us that life becomes wasted when we live unconsciously, repeating old patterns and ignoring the deeper call of our soul. True meaning and happiness come when we awaken, confront our inner truths, and choose a life that aligns with who we really are. At Spiritual Wisdom, our mission is to guide you toward that awakening. Now, I want to hear from you. What is one step you're ready to take today to stop wasting your life and start living with intention? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your journey might just inspire someone else's. And if this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more wisdom that can transform your life.